Hello, everyone. This is Coach Oliver once again. Welcome to round number 4 of the FIDE Grand Prix 2022 in Berlin, Germany. Right, I just couldn't contain my excitement for this game that I will feature for today. The game by Wesley So against Daniel Dominguez. Yeah. Wesley just he rose to the occasion. There were a lot of factors before this game. Yes, the two of them, Dominguez and Wesley, they were tied for the lead in Group D, and only one player will qualify per group. There are 4 groups. Yeah, they're in Pool D. Both players scored 2 points, so this was a critical game, and Wesley was playing black. We all know that it's very disadvantageous to play the black side, especially in a classical game as well, especially when your opponent is well prepared, yeah, having the white pieces. But Wesley showed some grit here, the fighting spirit that has been missing these days. Yeah. I know Wesley has this since day one. But sometimes we feel down when he accepts these unnecessary draws, yeah, in the middle of tournaments or somewhere. Yeah. But this time, he showed his fighting ability. And that's what I'm happy about to share with you guys. Wesley and I were teammates before. We played in 2 Olympiads. The first one was in Turin, Italy, where he was only 12 years old. That was his first Olympiad as a young boy. And we were teammates again back in 2012 in Turkey. So we actually had a very long history, and he's like a brother to me, by the way. He's a good friend and a brother. And I'm just so happy when he's successful. All right, let's go through the game. Dominguez played e4. He wants to fight. We have a fighting game. e5 is played by Wesley. Knight into f3. Knight into c6. Bishop c4. Bishop c5. Now we're going into the Italian. It's very popular nowadays, the Italian game, or the Gyuku piano. Yep. Castles. Knight into f6. d3. d6, normal. Wesley was probably waiting for the opponent to go for bishop g5. That's why he didn't castle yet. But let's say bishop g5, we'll go to h6, and if bishop h4, he might go for g5. Yeah. With the delayed casting d6 first, that is, inviting your opponent to go g5, and then bishop h4, g5. Okay. So Dominguez went for c3, a5. Okay, it's preventing b4 at the same time as space for your bishop to a7. Rook to e1, bishop to a7 now. Knight bd2. This is typical in Roy Lopez, in the Italian. The maneuver of the knight from d2 to f1, you go to g3 or e3, depending on your choice. Yeah, depending also on the middle game position. So black castles now, h3, bishop e6. Okay, this is a nice move with the bishop on a7 hitting f2. White cannot afford to capture on e6 because it only opens up the rook to f2 also, yes. Then we have knight h5, queen e8, queen g6. Okay, so bishop b5, knight into e7, repositioning the knight just like this knight on d2, going to f1, g3. This knight also from c6 to e7, going to g6. Okay, typical maneuver in this type of structure. d4, blocking the way of the bishop to f2, and also the right timing of the move, since the knight moved away from c6 to e7. There's no protection in e5. But the knight goes to g6, protects e5 as well. Bishop a4. Okay, the bishop repositions also, and also bishop c2 is coming. White can also go for bishop d, maybe bishop d3 or bishop f1 if he wants to, but if he plays bishop f1, it doesn't follow with the knight on d2 when you're blocking the way, right? So in Roy Lopez, in the Yoko Piano or the Italian, normally the bishop goes to a4 and then transfer it to c2, take care of the e4 pawn. Knight h5, nice moment for Wesley, attacking the f4 square. Knight can jump there. This knight is also defending. Knight f1, knight hf4. Knight into g3, takes on d4 first, releasing the central tension. Takes on d4, takes on d4. Removing one piece. Takes on d4, now d5. Yes. Okay, white cannot take on d5, of course, right? Bishop takes d5, pressure in g2 is too much. And if he pushes e5 here, Wesley will go for queen h4. This pawn is a bit of a target later in the game with c6, bishop d7, and also knight d6. Okay, so queen f3 was played. And I like this move by Wesley, queen f6. Provoking, okay, the main point of queen f6 is to capture on h3. Because you cannot take the knight on h3, that's queen takes f3. I really like this with queen f6. Now this bishop, okay, here, Dominguez went for bishop d1, protecting his queen on f3. But the problem with bishop d1 is that it's blocking the connection of the two rooks. Yes? So that is a waste of time for white's development because you have to play the bishop to d2. And another question is where to put the bishop after. Yeah, the bishop on d1. There's no better square. I like this queen f6. Yeah? After bishop d1, only then queen h4. That was very smart, so smart. Okay, bishop d2, c6. Rook to c1, f5. With this move, you will feel that Wesley has the fight in him. He wants to fight for that point. They're leading Group D. This is a critical game. The winner of this game has a higher chance of winning their group. f5 fight. He takes f5, probably this is the mistake in the game by Dominguez. Okay, if white, let's say, pushes on e5, Wesley has an option to take on g2, probably. If king takes on g2, then he could go for queen takes on d4. He could go for that one. Yes. 2 pawns, e5 is a target. We have some f4 ideas also. Go back to h5, f4, f3. But we'll never know. And another idea for Wesley here after, let's say, after e5, we could also go back to bishop e7. If, let's say, white goes for bishop c2, rook f7, rook cb1, rook f8. If, for example, white captures on a5, Wesley could go for takes on g2, takes on g2, and then knight f4. Let's say queen f3, takes on h3, queen to f4. Okay. These are the possible moves that can happen after e5. Yeah. But we'll never know what's in their mind. Yeah. These strong GMs, sometimes it's hard to understand how their mind works. Okay, so that was nice. f5 is ready for battle. Takes on f5. Okay, we have a fight. Takes. That's what I don't like about taking on f5 because it activates the rook. Okay, Dominguez went for 2 bishops. Okay, the bishop pair against a pair of knights. But the structure is so bad for white. You have an isolated pawn on b4. You have a double pawn on the g file. And what I don't know what he missed here. Wesley has this knight d3. This d3 square, everyone is missing it. Yesterday, Wesley also missed bishop d3 by Shiro. Although he won that game, but I think he missed the d3 square yesterday. This time, Dominguez also missed the square. After bishop c2, there's rook f2. Wesley is also tactically gifted. You have a fork of the rook, and you have that attack on the b2 pawn, attack on d3 and d4. This is now winning for black. Structure-wise, black is just totally winning. Okay, takes on g6. How does white stop the double attack on b2 and b4? Okay, he went for a counterplay on the 7th rank with rook e7, but Wesley just took the pawn on b2, protects b7. Rook c into e1. Okay, if let's say he decides to play rook f1, going to rook f7, Wesley has rook f8, yes. So you cannot double up on the 7th with rook f1. He went for rook ce1 first, but still Wesley has rook f8. You cannot exchange one of the rooks. Okay, if let's say you want to exchange one of the rooks, just rook takes this. Takes. This is 4 against 2. And Wesley could activate his king by king f7, taking away this important squares, rook e8, yes. Then later on rook e4, or even rook e3, rook a3. Yeah. And here rook b7, obviously the threat is to double up on the 7th rank. That's very calm. He knew that there was no danger. Rook ff2, rook e7. Okay, white has nothing anyways. This is his last chance. Rook takes g2, king f1, king a7, nice. The king is safe. White went for h4. Now let's take a look at rook takes g7. Black will just go king h6, right? If you play rook h7, king g5, the king is too safe. And it can even help in attacking this king here. Okay. And if you go for rook e7, threatening rook e5, rook f2, if king e1, rook takes a2, threatening mate, that's what threatening mate. Because if you play rook e5, just king f6. Okay, so Dominguez went for h4, taking away the escape square of the king on g5. Wesley has king h6, nice move. Okay, now if you take on g7, rook bf2 once again, king goes to e1, that square for the king. Oops. King h5, escape square, g4. Check, for example, king g4. And mate is coming in. And the king also has this shield on h3. Okay, so rook e5, he doesn't want the king to escape. So we check first, nice move. King takes on a2, threatening mate on a1 or g1. King f1, rook h2, h1 or a1. King g1, rook g2 first. King f1, rook b2. Protecting the pawn on b7, also threatening this a4, a3, a2, a1. He went for king g1, Wesley went for rook h d2. All right, threatening d4, threatening rook d1 or rook b1. If let's say the king goes back to f1, because if you check, there is rook e1, right? But how can you stop the pawn from e4? From pushing to a1. Okay, you can go rook d8 here, threatening mate on h8. Black can just go back to h7. One last trick, maybe rook to e8. Now rook d1 check, rook e1, we take a3. Yeah, this is too late. You go rook a8, a2. Rook b1 coming up, and then promote. And black still wins. Again, a pretty masterful win by Wesley. And what I like so much here is the fight he showed. He showed his fighting spirit. And that was it has been lacking for for some tournaments, some classical tournaments. And I knew that Wesley always have it. He has the talent, he has the heart. The important thing is the heart. Because everyone works, everyone works on this game, especially the elite. They work on the games. They have all the material. But what separates the men from the boys is the X factor, is the heart. How you fight. Be brave, right? And that's what's so impressive about this game. They were tied with 2 points in Group D. Critical game. Last 2 games left. Tomorrow is a rest day. So this was critical. With the win, Wesley has 3 points out of 4. Dominguez is stuck with 2 out of 3. Last 2 games for Wesley. Hopefully he continues his concentration, his focus. Eyes on the prize, the candidates, and the World Championship. Congratulations to Wesley, and also for those who are watching our channel. Thank you so much for the support, and we will continue our coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix 2022 in Berlin in the days to come. This is Coach Oliver. I'm signing off. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.